Alix Earle has found herself in a little bit of trouble after her latest episode of her podcast, and it all has to do with her suspected friendship with David Dobrik. It's a mess, so let's get into it. If you had told me last year, when Alix was really starting to pop off, that she would one day stoop to the level of being friends with David Dobrik, I probably wouldn't have believed you. A lot of people think a recent story that she told on her podcast was about David Dobrik, and her fans are not happy. Last year, Alix Earle started her Hot Mess podcast. The format is pretty much like a morning debrief with your friends. She lets the audience that she built on TikTok have a better look into her life that goes deeper than what her fans were seeing in her videos. So far, just based on her numbers from YouTube, it looks like it's doing really well for her. Typically, most podcasts will have lower numbers on YouTube because most people are watching through like Spotify or Apple, but even her views on YouTube are really good. Recently, she adopted a new format where she will vlog parts of her week and switch back and forth between the stories that she's telling and actual footage from those stories. She's been receiving a lot of positive feedback from her viewers, saying that it makes her stories even more engaging. And while the response has mostly been positive, there's also been a downside to it. Fans have put two and two together in her latest episode and figured out who she was talking about in one of her stories. In the episode titled, "We Got Kicked Out of the Club," she sat down with Jake Shane and talked about what happened while she was in LA. She initially flew to LA for the People's Choice Awards, but also spent some time going out with her friends to different parties and clubs in LA, and that's where all the trouble started. Her and Jake told a story about someone that they named Apple. They said that they went to Apple's house and kept bringing up how crazy this house was.
Then we went out with another friend that we both have in common here.
Let's call him Apple.
Okay. Apple picked us up and took us out, and we went to Apple's house, and it was...
Alix described it as being like an arcade and nothing like they've ever seen before, and even inserted a clip that she took from inside the house.
Then we went to Apple's house, which was the craziest house I've ever been to in my life.
Yeah, that was insane.
I was like, wait, what?
No, like, it's like, it actually,
was,
like, if you're...
It was like an arcade in there.
No, it's like if you could wake up and be like, I want this.
And this is where these clips are getting her into some trouble, because despite the filter that she put over the video trying to blur her surroundings, people quickly notice clues leading them to figure out who this house belonged to. In the background, you can see this round lighted artwork that looks like it has triangles on it. And if you go to David Dobrik's house tour, what do we see in the background? Round lighted artwork with pizza slices on it.
And there was this, but it had a bunch of elephants and different animals on it. And I DM'd you and I was like, where is that from? That is the coolest thing in the world. And then you hooked me up with Peter, who made this.
We found him. And then we talked to the owners, and they're like, it's this artist named Peter. We found Peter. I DM'd Peter. I was like, my friend is going to contact you. Make sure to respond to him, and then you guys work together, and that's the new piece now.
He's a real estate guy, YouTuber, art dealer.
Connect people, everything, the whole 9 years.
No, so this is the coolest thing I think I have in here. I love it.
I don't think that's something that like every influencer has in their home, which means people figured out this so-called Apple they're talking about is most likely David Dobrik. They went on to talk about this cool water fountain that Apple had that was filled with fruit punch.
Like, you guys, Apple had a water fountain that dispensed fruit punch.
Yeah, no, it was pretty crazy.
And it's just like everyone knows that David Dobrik is the influencer with a fruit punch water fountain.
This is my favorite part of the entire house. This is from the movie Mr. Deeds. I've always wanted one. It's a water fountain like you get at school, but instead of water, check this out. It's fruit punch. It's freaking ridiculous.
What brand of fruit punch is it?
Hawaiian Punch. You fat fuck.
Oh my god, if it's Hawaiian Punch, all right.
I don't think there's many influencers out here who have fruit punch wired into a water fountain going into their house. At this point, I don't understand why they're even bothering with code names. Everyone knows who they're talking about. They kept talking about how much fun their nights are when Apple is there.
And she was like, let's call Apple.
She was like, wait, randomly? Wait, I just called you.
I even got it.
He was like, wait, randomly? Would you want to go out with Apple tonight? And I was like, Apple's like my Roman Empire.
No, yeah, and I was crying. I was like, Me too. Like, my most fun nights in this life are with Apple. Like, you, me, and Apple together in a night. Like, I could not imagine something better.
It was perfect. And I think we had a really great night.
And knowing that Alix and Jake surround themselves with David after everything that's come out about him isn't really sitting right with people. A lot of people were bringing up how strange it was for them to not call David by his name and have to use a code name, probably because they know he's a controversial person and their fans wouldn't be happy with them being around him. We had people writing, they obviously know it's weird to hang out with him if they won't even say his name. Every person that still associates with David in any way is automatically a red flag to me. Being friends with David Dobrik in 2024 is crazy. The fact that they won't even say his name says everything. So disappointing they're friends with him. And it's true. I mean, I could see if they went to some celebrity's house and they had to sign an NDA and couldn't say their name, but using a code name for David, to me, that just shows they know how much backlash they'd get from being around him. But then I'm also like, if you didn't want people to know and you had to go to the lengths of using a code name, why would you even talk about the fruit punch water fountain and show his house when literally everyone who's ever seen a David Dobrik video knows what his house looks like and knows about the fountain? I think it says so much about David's reputation now that people have to use code names to try and get away with associating with him. Shouldn't it be a sign to them that if you're too embarrassed to say his name, maybe you shouldn't be hanging around him? A lot of her fans in the comments expressed how disappointed they were with finding this out, writing, got the ick when they were drooling over David. Yikes. Y'all should have kept your little story about Apple between you guys. That's so embarrassing. So you know David is problematic and that's why you call him Apple, but apparently not problematic enough to stop associating with him. That says so much about you. And you guys know, David puts his whole life on his Snapchat. I'm surprised he didn't use Alix for clickbait to get people to click through all of his stories. I wonder if she had to ask him not to show her on his Snap, and once again, if you have to do that, maybe you should be reconsidering who you're hanging out with. I'm honestly shocked Alix would even want to involve herself in that friend group, especially after everything that came out about David and the fact that he doesn't care about putting his friends in danger. How can you even sit there and hear about what David did to someone who was supposed to be his best friend and still think, oh yeah, that's someone I want to be friends with? And I know I said earlier that I would have never believed you if you told me Alix would have been friends with David, but I kind of feel like we should have all seen this coming after what happened at Coachella last year. Alix was actually seen on David's Snap during Coachella, and everyone was thinking that she was personally friends with David.
A user commented on one of Alix's first Coachella videos saying, "Are you with the Vlog Squad right now?" Alix replied, "Somehow, yeah." What has also further piqued people's interest was the difference in content. So David was posting almost exclusively videos of Alix, whereas Alix was barely posting that she was with the Vlog Squad, which really makes it seem like she doesn't want to be associating with them.
It later came out that it was actually a brand that was sending them all to Coachella, and that's why they were together. But I guess they must have found a friendship since Alix and Jake said they always have the best time when they're with David. I actually thought David maybe stepped back from the influencer life after everything that happened, but clearly he's still very much ingrained with influencers still. It's just not shown because people know being friends with David means getting backlash. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think about everything down below, and I'll see you next time.